friends, I am Kanchan from Akulmach Technologies and you are welcome to our series Great Kings of India. And today we'll be discussing about Samudragupta, who is one of the greatest king of India, and I think many of you may not be knowing that he established entire India, conquest entire India, leaving few parts of Kerala and Gujarat. So, to discuss more about this interesting king, we have an eminent historian, Meeta Joshi, who is the head of the department of one of the prestigious college in Hyderabad, Saint Anne's College for Women. So, without wasting any other moment, I'm so eager to know about Samudragupta, who established the Gupta dynasty. So, welcome to the show, Meeta ji.
Namaskar, Kanchan. How are you?
I am fine, Meeta ji. How are you? How's
I'm
everything?
also good. So, everything is fine. So, I will talk about Samudragupta.
Right.
Samudragupta was the son of Chandragupta I,
Okay.
the founder of the Gupta dynasty, and a Lichavi princess. Okay.
Okay.
So, he is also called as the Indian Napoleon
Oh, really?
by many historians. Yes,
Okay.
like historian Vincent Smith, he coined this word. He compared the conquests of Samudragupta with Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay.
But here, many historians have different opinions because Samudragupta was in the 4th century CE and Napoleon Bonaparte was in the 18th century. So, yes, and the empire of Samudragupta was almost the entire Indian subcontinent, leaving some, pockets of coastal Gujarat and Kerala. But
Okay.
if you see the empire of Napoleon,
Mhm.
Napoleon Bonaparte in the 18th century,
Mhm.
then he conquered, he was ruling the present France.
Mhm.
Okay, then the northwest is Italy,
Mhm.
western part of Germany,
Okay.
and small countries like Switzerland and Belgium. So
Mhm.
if you compare area-wise, there is no comparison because Samudragupta's area was way bigger than Napoleon Bonaparte. This is
Okay.
one difference.
Mhm.
Another difference is according to the Allahabad pillar inscription written by one of the officials of Samudragupta, Harisena, who happened to be his court poet also.
Mhm.
So he wrote in that inscription that he was the hero of 100 battles. Who?
Okay.
Samudragupta.
Okay.
Okay, and if you leave the battles of North India and if you just count the battles which he fought in the Deccan, in down south, then you will be amazed to know that he participated in 29 battles in Deccan and South India alone.
Mhm.
And it is said that he fought more than 100 battles, Samudragupta.
Okay.
But if you see the wars of or battles of Napoleon Bonaparte, he fought 60 battles in his 20 years as a commander of the German army, and in those 60 battles, 8 times he got defeated, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Okay.
But Samudragupta was an undefeated ruler.
Oh.
All the wars he fought,
Okay.
he he was never defeated. He
Oh, great.
always won.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Samudragupta was a ruler,
Mhm.
but Napoleon was made a prisoner by the Britishers, and he died in captivity in Saint Helena in one
Yeah.
of the islands.
Right.
So the comparison, you can say that okay, the conquests of Samudragupta and conquests of Napoleon were similar. Okay, but you cannot compare Samudragupta with Napoleon because if you see the personality, if you see his rule, there is no comparison. Napoleon, and as I told you, Napoleon was in 18th century.
Right.
And Samudragupta was in 4th century CE, so almost 1400 years after Napoleon came.
Right.
So there is no comparison. But because one of the European historians termed him as Indian Napoleon, so
Right.
he is known in historical records as an Indian Napoleon.
Right.
Why? Because Napoleon was a warrior, and he was a main figure in the French Revolution in 1789. Samudragupta, he established his empire with his when he started as a king, his empire was very small. But sitting at Patliputra, because his capital was Patliputra, and then fighting so many battles and establishing a huge kingdom, but managing it very, very nicely. Because what he did, he, in all the wars, it was not only deaths and blood.
Right.
He went to the rulers and he asked them to accept his suzerainty. So,
Right.
who agreed, he annexed their kingdoms to his kingdom. So, that way, very, very intelligently, he worked, Samudragupta. And uh, if you see the model of administration, it was very, very nice because after Samudragupta, many rulers have copied that model of administration. Sitting at Patliputra, managing such a huge empire for a long period of time. Because if you see, Samudragupta was from 335 to 370 AD. Okay, and as I told you, in the there are many inscriptions. This is known as Prayag Prashasti. Prashasti means inscription. So in that inscription, he is described as a hero of 100 battles, and because not only he was a warrior, he was a very good poet. He was a very good musician.
Oh.
So he had a multifaceted personality. And in his reign, art, architecture, in every fold there was development. And that's why, because of his, administration and the development he did, Gupta age came to be known as the golden age of ancient India. It was not like this that everything was gold, but the development which happened,
Right.
and then a very good coinage he floated, Samudragupta. Pure gold coins were, started by Samudragupta, and those coins had an influence of Kushans. Kushan were foreigners.
Right.
So when you see the coins,
Right.
the dress which the emperor is wearing only had little differences there, because they used to Kushans used to wear a pointed hat. He was not wearing a pointed hat, Samudragupta. Some modifications here and there, but because he had this influence on him, Kushan influence, and uh, when he was an emperor, not only the domestic policies, the foreign policies were also very good, because he had friendly relations with many countries like Burma, Ceylon. So, and he followed Vaishnavism, but he was tolerant towards Buddhism also, because that time Buddhism was flourishing. So
Right.
he was tolerant towards Buddhism, and he even gave permission for many for the construction of many stupas, viharas, and monasteries of Buddhism. So that way, if you see Samudragupta, his personality in total, he was one of the greatest kings of ancient India. One of the
Yes,
greatest
I
king.
can
And
very well understand that
yeah,
because if we see into the modern India, when Maratha also moved towards north and they were not able to sustain that empire, though they were so strong empire, and I can very well visualize the empire so big. I mean, from north, from maybe Kashmir to really Kanyakumari, leaving few parts of Kerala and few parts in Gujarat, and then maintaining it.
हाँ, coastal Gujarat and Kerala were left. Otherwise, the Deccan down south, North India, everything was conquered by Samudragupta. And
Yes.
some historians, they also compare Samudragupta with Ashoka.
Right.
But that is a wrong comparison because Ashoka was all for non-violence and peace
Okay.
after the Kalinga War.
Okay.
And Samudragupta was all for wars, conquests, aggression.
Okay.
So two different, ideologies.
Mhm.
But if you see the extent of the empire, that matches because Ashoka had a huge empire, Chandragupta Maurya had a huge empire. Same way, Samudragupta also had almost the whole Indian subcontinent under his reign. So
Yes.
that is the difference.
Yes, and that is the thing I think we are missing out. We always remember a Maurya dynasty. We think of and talk of Ashoka, but somehow in some matters we are missing out Samudragupta because he has managed to have that big empire, and then he is also a good administrator, and he knew how to really do the management day to day. So, in spite of being general, a good general, he is a good administrator also. Otherwise,
Yes,
it's difficult to really
we
manage such a big
see,
empire.
as we call Ashoka as Chakravarti Samrat. Chakravarti means who was ruling the entire thing.
Right,
Same way, same way, they used to call Samudragupta as a Chakravarti.
right.
Digvijay. Digvijay means who has conquered all the, all the dishas,
Hmm.
all your north, east, west, south.
Right.
And even for Samudragupta,
Mhm.
it was said for his horses
Mhm.
that they have tasted the water of four oceans because the extent was so huge.
Right.
So Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal, all these oceans, because the trade and commerce was also very good. So the main ports were under the Gupta Empire, under Samudragupta. So that's why it is also said that he and his horses have tasted the water of many oceans, four oceans.
Right.
And can you imagine, Kanchan, a person who fought 75 odd battles and never got defeated?
Right.
Never ever.
Yes.
So
So
it is
good.
a real,
Right.
a big thing.
Right.
It's a
Right.
huge
Very big.
and and that times the army which Samudragupta had,
Mhm.
it was a Chaturang army. Chaturang means infantry,
Mhm.
cavalry,
Okay.
this cavalry, infantry, then a unit of these horses and elephants. So all that all together, artillery. So it was a very, very well organized army also which he had.
Mhm.
That's why they were able to conquer and they were able to conquest the entire Indian subcontinent because of the army also.
Right.
Not only administration, his strategies, his war strategies, and his diplomatic policies. Because with some kings, he was diplomatic. He asked them to, come under his suzerainty
Mhm.
and he annexed their kingdoms into his. So that way, he developed the Gupta Empire in by all means, art, architecture, music. He was a great musician. In one of the coins, he is shown as playing the veena,
Right.
and it is written in some text
Mhm.
that even the musicians of gods,
Mhm.
they got defeated by Samudragupta when he played the veena.
Oh,
There
great.
is one
He's a
story.
he's a master.
Ha.
I think he was a good personality. He was a general and musician. So two contrasts actually. So because
Yes, very because he his love for
Christianity,
music, his love for poetry,
right,
is very another side of his personality.
right.
But he was like that, Samudragupta. A great warrior king. You can call him a great warrior king, a good administrator, and because of him only the Gupta age reached the glory, and that's why the Gupta age was known as the golden age in ancient India,
I know.
because of all round development,
I know.
art, architecture, administration, everywhere the progress was seen. That's why it is known as the golden age. But after him, like the successors, Ram Gupta, Skand Gupta, they were not as great as Samudragupta, but somehow they managed, to take the legacy forward. But the face of Gupta Empire is only Samudragupta.
Okay.
Only Samudragupta. No one else.
So it was so wonderful to talk to you today. We will be discussing Samudragupta, who is the greatest, one of the greatest king of ancient India, tomorrow. And we'll discuss more about how he managed such a big empire and how he managed his army in our other series. For today, it was so wonderful to really talk to you and know more about Samudragupta. I'm sure our viewers will be benefiting about to know about this knowledgeable topic. So till tomorrow, bye bye, madam.
And thank you, Kanchan.
Thank you. Bye.